For the Hamilton Tiecats, they came oh so close to competing in their third consecutive Grey Cup final and have developed an expectation of winning. On the flip side, it's all in on the rebuild in Toronto as the Maple Leafs turn to an iconic figure behind the bench to lead the restoration of one of the NHL's original six. Andrew McNamara covers both squads for TSN 1050, and he joins me on Tuesday for a wide-ranging discussion on both of those topics. So, Andy, first of all, we want to welcome you to the Turbine Advantage podcast, and we thank you for your time this morning.
Oh, Kevin, a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
So when we look at what happened in the Tiecats season, obviously September 19th, Zach Collaros goes down, but they're still within a couple of plays of their third consecutive Grey Cup final. So can you tell me about your thoughts on the totality of the season and what you thought as a whole?
Well, right, yeah, it was so frustrating when Collaros went down, because as great a season as 40-year-old Henry Burris had for Ottawa, there was no doubt that if Zach Collaros stayed healthy, the MOP was his. He was going to be the most outstanding player, no doubt. And I truly feel if he was healthy, this team would have not just gone to the Grey Cup, but won it. Now, that being said, the way that the Tiecats were able to overcome 4 different starting quarterbacks this season, 3 after Collaros. So after Collaros, you go to Jeff Matthews, young guy, very smart, out of Cornell, had 18 Ivy League records, had a history with head coach Ken Austin. It struggled at first, but you could see the gradual growth, and he was starting to get comfortable. What happened then? Boom, concussion. He's out at the end of the year. So all of a sudden, now you're down to your third-string quarterback, Corey Harris. Great guy, like him on a personal level very much. But he was thrown in. First quarter finishes, well, he's not moving the offense. But Jeremiah Mazzoli, who I equate to the Canadian version of Johnny Manziel, I called him Jerry Football, because he was just wild. He was going all over. He took a little while to find himself, but then they stuck with Mazzoli, and he was able to grow and play within the system that Ken Austin had, but without really taking away all of his specialness, all of his playmaking ability that he can make with his feet when he can escape the pocket and really be that dual threat quarterback. The fact that they were one dropped interception away by a defensive end, Arnaud Gascon-Nadeau, I will never forget that dropped interception for the rest of my life, Kevin. And then you have that high snap to Henry Burris. He hauls it down, chucks it up to Greg Ellington. Ed Gainey slips. Ellington takes it to the house. And what hurts more, those were 2 former Tiecats. So the fact that with all that, with a 4th quarterback, they were that close to going to the Grey Cup, I thought was remarkable, and just goes to show the real heart and buy-in from all the players on the Hamilton Tiecats.
Now, when we look at the roster, 34 players are eligible for free agency, and then 23 of them were on the active roster for the game against Ottawa. So, how different do you think this roster will look, and who do you think will be back next season?
All right, well, they've re-signed a few guys already, which is good to see. The difference, Kevin, with this group compared to other sports teams I've been around, and it's cliche when you say guys buy in and they're a tight-knit family, whatever. This is actually the case with the Tiecats. They were able to plug and play how many different players on Orlando Steinauer's defense this year and didn't miss a beat. This group, everybody buys in completely and know they're on the verge of something special. So I'm not really concerned about who's going to come back, because if the money makes sense, I think the majority of them will be. And if they're not, that tells me more that Ken Austin did not want them back compared to the player not wanting to come back. My only concern would be Ted Laurent, the Canadian defensive tackle, Big Daddy. Oh my gosh, he's huge. He's going to command a lot of cash, so he might be the one that might get away. But other than that, I think players that sign or don't re-sign is more of a reflection on what the organization thinks of them, rather than them wanting to go to greener pastures to get some more cash. Because the buy-in and the family feel, and that they're all in this together is no better spot in the CFL than Hamilton right now.
Now, when we look at the entire league in the CFL, I think television ratings were down about 15% from a year ago. So can you tell me, what do you think is the key to get Canadians excited again about Canadian football?
Well, I think on the radio side they probably spiked because I did the play-by-play this year.
Absolutely, yeah.
But on the TV side, what stood out to me this year, if you look at the season as a whole, there weren't that many great storylines. Offense was down. Penalties were up beginning of the year, stifling play and making it slow and dragged out. I think that top of the year where it was really a slow start to the league and all those penalties really kind of hampered the television viewer, because if you're just watching it at first, like, oh, this is taking forever. Now, near the end of the year, they start figuring it out. But I would say the combination of probably lack of exciting storylines, a lot of injuries too. Because if you have your best players all, and especially quarterbacks, I think there's only 2 quarterbacks that did not miss significant times: 40-year-old Henry Burris and I believe Bo Levi Mitchell out in Calgary. So when you lose starting quarterbacks, you take a chunk of storylines away. You don't have necessarily the names to draw in people to view. So you have a bunch of guys, and you try to build on the underdog story. That only worked so far, and then the offense was down for a while and picked up. So I think it was the slow start that probably led to that. And also, I'd say, although they didn't necessarily go head-to-head all the time, the Blue Jays' success and everybody getting wrapped up in that nationwide probably had a little something to do with it.
Now, well, switching gears to the Maple Leafs just for a second. Obviously, the big move was to bring Mike Babcock in from Detroit, and he's trying to develop a winning culture. So could you tell me just briefly about your thoughts on the impact he's had on the team and where they're headed?
I absolutely love the direction that the Maple Leafs are heading, and I could not honestly have said that probably since 92, probably since 91 with Cliff Fletcher came in, and sort of under the Pat Quinn reign in the early 2000s. It's been so long, and the difference is that this team, this organization is truly committed to the rebuild. And what I love is, if you look at this Leafs roster, these are just a bunch of guys. These are placeholders until the youth are ready. Like, hey, I said on my TSN 1050 show, whose jersey would you get if you were a Maple Leafs fan? Because the idea is if you get a jersey, it's the guy's going to be around for a while and be a star, or you really like the grit. And all that we got response was Leo Komarov, because he's tough and gritty and fun. And Morgan Riley outside of that. So to think about that, you have a whole bunch of guys, placeholders, and they're still very competitive every night. You can tell Babcock is instituting his system, his way, and that he is getting responses out of this motley crew of players. So, to me, what that says, Kevin, is if he can get that type of effort out of this group, get him some real talent, and are able to get him something to work with talent-wise to actually produce. I think what the main point is that to build, all right, this is what it is to play like a Maple Leaf. They did it in Detroit. They have now coordinated the minor league Marlies with the Maple Leafs with the same style and system. So when you go to the Marlies and start, you're going to be playing the same type of system as when you come up to the Toronto Maple Leafs. That is so important that you have that connection, because then it's, all right, this is what it is to play like a Maple Leaf. This is what it is to play in that system. Then you have the guys who come up into it. They become the veterans to teach, and it's just a beautiful circle. And that's why a team like the Detroit Red Wings under Babcock made the playoffs for whatever it was, 19 straight years, 22 years, whatever it is. And that's the direction that they're headed. Now, do I think they're going to make the playoffs? Hell no. I don't think they're going to come close because of the talent. But you want to see those incremental steps. You want to see them competitive, and you want to see buy-in, and the Leafs are getting that out of Babcock.
Now, with that said, what do you think are realistic expectations, and how do you think the organization should continue on the path for the rebuild?
I think they should continue on exactly the way they're doing. I think the biggest mistake that so many regimes have made in the past is when they think they're in a rebuild, they have a blip of success, and then, wait, hey, we're closer than we think. All right, let's go get some free agents. Let's try to make a push. And if they do make the playoffs, they're out quick, and you don't have that core to actually build long-term success. So I think the commitment from Brendan Shanahan and Mike Babcock is going to stay the same. I think we're still going to see at the deadline assets traded off, a la Daniel Winnick and Mike Santorelli last year, to try to get draft picks and prospects to help build. Because, Kevin, if you do not do that, and you keep a team that is bubbling around the wild card picture but probably not going to make it, and don't trade anybody because you thought, well, maybe, then you're not doing yourself any good. You're setting yourself back. So I see that rebuild continuing the same way they've been doing it. You might see Leo Komarov go. You might see Michael Grabner go. I think the only untouchables at this point on this team is Morgan Riley. I think that is the absolute only guy who you could scratch off and say he is not going to be traded because he is a core young piece. But that's what they need to keep doing. You need to build guys up on those 1 year short contracts. Hope you strike lightning in a bottle. Trade them off for an asset. Draft well. Get a good prospect and grow it. And then you'll have a nice clump of core players to build on and actually have a team that can be competitive, not just 1 year, but multiple years.
Andy, we want to thank you for your time. I know you're busy this morning, so we appreciate your time and for joining us on the Two Man Advantage podcast.
Well, thank you very much, Kevin. It was my pleasure.